We got to start with the Conservative leadership race. Let's call it the Leitch litmus test. Kellie Leitch and this survey question that she's doubled down on. Should new Canadians, immigrants, refugees be subject to an anti-Canadian values screening test? Right. She's made this the, quote, litmus test for everyone. Now you've got Michael Chong saying it's dog whistle politics, Maxime Bernier saying it's not the right thing to do, Rona Ambrose, the interim leader, saying it's not the right thing to do, Deepak Oberoi saying, what has this done to that entire race? What has that done to the Conservative leadership
It's made
race?
it about Kellie Leitch, right? It's made it about Kellie Leitch and about this issue that they thought they needed to put to rest after the last election, where they obviously suffered by trying to play identity politics in a certain way. It's interesting the way people are playing it. Just to take Max Bernier's response, if you look at it, parse it, he doesn't say she's wrong. He says if there's no real way to screen people, test people for Canadian values, they'll just give the answer they think they're supposed to give. So you can't. It's not quite the same as saying it's morally wrong to do it. It's saying there's no practical way to do it, so let's talk about something else. And you get this kind of like slicing and dicing of the issue everywhere, which shows that people at least know that it has some traction.
Well, they sent the trap.
Yeah.
They all sense the trap because Leitch's idea is to flush them out.
Yeah.
If you're on the other side, perfect to have this space. So you've got Michael Chong on one side and then Kellie Leitch. And then you've got, interestingly, Bernier, but I was most interested, finally, is Tony Clement.
Yeah.
And he came out and he said, I'm into screening at the border,
which is different than a values test,
which is
right?
not
different.
Which is not what our anti-Canadian
values. Do most
values.
Canadians realize that? They're going to hear it and think, well, isn't that the same thing?
I don't think he cares about most Canadians on this. I think he wants to put a pillow over this fire.
Yeah, that's why.
And he wants to win Conservative voters. But just real quick on that, do you think this has long-term consequences on what it means that the Stephen Harper Conservative Coalition?
I think it does, and what we want to see is, does Kellie Leitch raise it in a prominent way in debates? Does she force it onto the agenda going forward, or is this just something that put her into the leadership fray and that's job accomplished and now she can move on to other issues? She's in control of that to some degree, right?
Yeah, I think she keeps on it. All right, topic two really quickly. The defense minister is in London, Defense Minister Sajjan, along with other defense ministers, and they're working with the United Nations. And we know Canada has promised a force of up to 600 people to be made available for United Nations peacekeeping or peace operation, although there's not peacekeeping, and another 150 police officers. But no details when they're going to go, where they're going to go, what the mission is. This is a commitment without a detail.
But they did say they're going to host a conference on this coming year.
Next year, yeah.
That's not sending soldiers into the field, but it keeps them alive in it. If you go back to the Liberal platform, they said we'll take a leadership role in reigniting interest in United Nations peacekeeping. I think it has to do with Liberal brand, right? This goes back to Pearson, Blue Berets, and the core Liberal brand. What are the elements of that? The Charter of Rights and Freedoms, the flag, peacekeeping. Those are the big things. Whether that's
this could be not peacekeeping. He said that. So what if they're in harm's way? Look, there can't be a combat mission. But there could be what's called a Chapter 7 mission, which means you're protecting civilians, and that is essentially combat.
Yeah, and they're going to be in dangerous places. There's no getting away from that. So the question is, can you maintain the good feeling around this if bad news comes?
All right, John and I will never make this list, which is the Vanity Fair's best dressed list. Right? Well, you may. I mean,
no,
you're looking
we're
good.
Not making. I'm
not even close.
I like the
but
checks.
apparently Justin Trudeau has made yet another list about his appearance. Now, I didn't want to do this because this could be hashtag sucking up kind of stuff. Because look, it's more of this stuff about how he's dressed. But you brilliantly have found a way to take this seriously.
No,
what is
it? I've taken seriously for a while. I wrote in Maclean's that if you look at research, better looking politicians do better than politicians who are perceived to be less good looking. Part of being better looking, absolutely. There's great research on that. There's a very interesting German study where they looked at who wins in mayoral elections, and it's rigorous stuff where they've looked at, and if you look better, if you're perceived to look better than your opponent, you do better. That's
so
the way it rolls.
well, the looks matter, but also the impressions matter.
Looks matter, and they matter in different ways, but generally speaking, they matter. So I think when we shy away from stories about Trudeau's clothes, his lack of clothes when he takes his shirt off, those kind of things, we're actually missing a chance to talk about something that does matter. Who will the Conservatives put up against him? Will it be an attractive young person who they can vie for some social media space with, or will they just ignore that and compete in another way?
I'm not dismissing the data, and I know you're right. There's lots of data. I will only say this: it's kind of the Churchill counter argument. It's not like Churchill was on the best dressed list. No, you mean it.
No,
and I just wonder: do we spend not enough time?
Angela Merkel,
I get that, but do we spend? I don't think it's not that we spent not enough time on that, but maybe too much time.
Or the wrong kind of time.
Right. Either way, we're not on the list.
We're not on the list.